This new Notion calendar update is the best update by far. This will allow you to organize your tasks in your Notion calendar and spend less time in the Notion app. So your tasks, projects, life buckets, and time tracking data can work in the background whilst you spend your day using the Notion calendar app. I've been waiting for this for a very long time, so I'm excited to show you. It is currently in beta, but I've had to play with it, and I think this is the best update to come to Notion calendar yet. For Notion tutorials, subscribe, let's dive in. All right, so this is headquarters, which is my premium Notion template, and I'll use this as an example just to show you how this new update works. So the first thing we'll do is connect our workspace to our Notion calendar. So I'll simply scroll down here to the calendar and click on Manage in Calendar. So as you can see, the database appears here on the side. And what I can do is click here on these three dots, and now I can click on Add View. And as you can see, the database views here come up. So those database views come from here, which is my task list. So I have quick, flow, easy, all of these different database views. If you don't know how database views work, basically if you add a task here, it might show up in this view, but not in this view, for example. And that's because we're using different filters and sorting settings and grouping settings to determine what information we want to see in these tabs. So in Notion Calendar here, if I click on my task list, now I can see task 1 appearing here. And that's because it's sitting under week's tasks. But what I can do here is add another view, such as no date. If you're a headquarters user, I would recommend adding that one. So if I click now on no date, I can see all the tasks here that don't have a date associated with them. So task 1 here, for example, doesn't have a date associated with it. But if I add today's date to it, as you can see, it gets removed from this tab here, and it shows up here at the top, task 1. And it gets removed from this list here under no date. Now, the way I like to work is when I get a task, I immediately schedule it out. So task 3, that way I know when I'm going to do it. But let's say our week is looking very full. So what I'll do here is just move all these down and schedule them out. So my 9 to 5 is completely packed from Monday to Thursday here. Well, if I then get a task and I don't know when I'm actually going to do it, I'll add it to my no date list. So add task here, task 5, task 6, task 7. So under no date, these tasks are sitting here. If I go back to my Notion calendar, you can see these automatically popped up. Now, normally when I'm working in Notion calendar, I can't see tasks that don't have a date associated with them, because where on this user interface would they show up? Which means I'm only seeing the tasks in here that have already been scheduled. But now I can simply click on this no date property, and now I can see all the tasks there that don't have a date associated with them. And I can simply just drag them in when I'm going to do them. So let's say task 1 here today ended a bit early. Let's do that. I can now move that task here from 2 to 3 o'clock. Now, another problem I had with Notion Calendar was that I had to go back to my Notion dashboard in order to tick in that I've completed the task. So task 1, I'll tick it in here, or of course I could tick it in here under my day-to-day. But I'll just untick that to show you how this works. Now in my Notion calendar, I can click on the task and I can literally tick in that it's been completed. Now, because with headquarters, we're working here under week's tasks, I have a filter here under the week's tasks tab to hide the tasks that are complete. So if this works, if I tick in task 1, this should be removed. It took a second to load, but then it got removed. So now with the week's tasks view, I'm only seeing the tasks that I haven't completed. And in my Notion calendar, I can simply click here and tick in the task. I can also change other stuff such as state, urgency, and importance, which if you're a headquarters user, you know how that works. But let's say we want to still see the task that we've completed. Well, in headquarters here, I'll simply click on all this week and now click on managing calendar. And now you can see here all this week appears and task 1 is being seen. So I can see task 1 here in red, but as you can see under these other tasks here, I can see 2 lines here. That's because this task here, so task 2, is both in week's tasks, but it's also under all this week. So what I'll do then is simply hide week's tasks. So then I just have all this week appearing on here. And as you can see, there's a tick icon here next to task 1 to indicate that it's been done. So I can click here on task 5 once it's completed and tick that in. And then if I go back to headquarters, I can see task 1 and task 5 showing up here. Now, if you haven't set this up yet, I do recommend it. If you click here on plus, and we'll add a property here, which is the formula, what I'll do is paste this code here, and I'll click here on done. So as you can see, 60 and 300 appears next to task 1 and task 5, which is coming from here. This is 300 minutes and this is 60 minutes. And if I were to update task 5 and simply drag this down to 2 to 4 o'clock, if I go back to headquarters, you can see this now says 120. If I now scroll down and go to the time tracker page and open this up, I can now see task 5 and task 1. And what we'll do is click here on settings, click on property visibility, and here all we're going to do is show that formula. Click on calculate, show options, sum. So on this time tracker page, this data here is automatically coming from my Notion calendar. And then obviously on the time tracker page, we can also break it down by project, the month's buckets, and the month's project. So on this page, I'll just show the property of formula. If we go back to the Notion calendar and let's just say we complete task 2, task 2 now appears here. And obviously, if I want, I can add a project to it. Let's say it's under project 2, and then it bounces down under project 2. So what this new update means is basically I can spend less time in this dashboard here and more time just looking at my calendar, because I can complete tasks in here, and I can click on tasks that don't have a date and add them directly in here like that. But in the background, that data is still being stored in headquarters. So project 1 and project 2 here, if I scroll down and go to project 2, I can click here on completed tasks and see task 1 and task 2. Or if I click on my time tracking here, I can see task 1 and task 5 with 120 and 300, which is 420 minutes. The data is still being stored and organized and sorted in my Notion dashboard, but if I mainly want to work on my calendar, that's now a possibility. By the way, if you want to check out headquarters, click on this video here and you can see the full tour. It is incredibly powerful, and now it's even more powerful with this Notion calendar update.